You like the 2008 Ring of Honor roster? Cause AEW and NXT sure like the 2008 Ring of Honor roster. In this WrestleTalk news, Daniel Bryan is all in, CM Punk is in talks with AEW too, Samoa Joe's in-ring return confirmed, my review of AEW and more. Subscribe and enable notifications for daily wrestling news videos, where I'm reliably told if we get to 5 million before the end of this day, AEW will also sign Prince Nana from the Ring of Honor 2008 roster. Let's make this happen, folks!
Support WrestleTalk!
Just over 3 months ago, Daniel Bryan was wrestling in the main event of WrestleMania 37. Just a few weeks later, he wrestled what might be his final match for WWE, losing to Roman Reigns on SmackDown with not just the Universal title on the line, but Bryan's career too. It turned out that behind the scenes, this was a shoot. Bryan's WWE contract had legitimately expired. Suddenly, one of the most popular wrestlers in the world could show up anywhere he wanted. Even then though, WWE was reportedly confident he'd just take some time off and return to them somewhere down the line. Not like that way of thinking had backfired in the past, but PW Insider first reported several days ago that Bryan was not factored into any of WWE's merchandise or licensing plans, and people in the company were scared that meant he was signing with AEW. And it turns out those fears were well-founded. Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net is reporting Daniel Bryan has 100% already signed a contract with AEW, and that he is locked in. According to the report, Bryan asked for less dates for comparable money, the ability to be able to work in Japan, and creative input on his character, all of which he got. Please, please, please let him have also demanded the final countdown as his entrance music. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. As for when he'll debut, Cassidy notes Bryan Danielson, because WWE owned the rights to the Daniel Bryan name, will make his AEW debut on September 22nd, when AEW heads to Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. Who do you want to see Bryan have his first feud with in AEW? Let me know in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people for the first 30 minutes after this video goes live from out of nowhere. But that could change because the other biggest currently unsigned star in all of professional wrestling is also reportedly in talks with AEW. CM Punk.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
About 8 hours before the Bryan story broke, Sean Ross Sapp on Fightful Select reported CM Punk has been in talks to make a return to pro wrestling as an in-ring performer, with sources indicating that AEW is the most likely landing point. Adding higher-ups in WWE believe that Punk is heading to AEW. Dave Meltzer then corroborated that Punk had been in talks with AEW, but did point out President Tony Khan had been in contact with everyone. So you're telling me there's a chance for Prince Nana? Punk was one of Khan's first talent picks to initially launch AEW with, but Punk turned them down, claiming their talks at the time was nothing more than a few texts, a meeting, several months of creative laid out, a defined contract, and big monetary figure. You know, just proper casual-like. Punk, of course, hasn't done anything since leaving WWE in 2014. Not one thing. He's just kept his culture-changing head down. If only I had a ready-made catchphrase for this very situation. Gasp! Drake Maverick. It was announced that the latest set of NXT tapings yesterday, which have been taped in advance for the next 2 weeks while it's bumped to Sci-Fi for the Olympics, that Samoa Joe will be returning to the ring also to face Karrion Kross at NXT TakeOver 36 on August 22nd. The winner will become the #1 contender to Jeff Hardy's NXT Championship. Before we get on with the rest of the episode, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to this video's sponsor, Noom, the weight loss program that you can take a 30-second free quiz for right now by clicking our link in the video description below. Have you found staying in shape a challenge during the new normal? Have you put on 10 pounds this year already because you're not paying attention to your destructive eating habits? In the last 2 weeks alone, have you eaten 5 stuffed crust pepperoni pizzas from the corner shop with a whole sour cream and chive dip and 2 packs of chocolate for dessert? I certainly haven't. I look like this underneath my clothes. Yeah, okay, I need help. As the other guys here at WrestleTalk will tell you, I'm a productivity nut. I love life hacks and efficiency techniques. But one part of my life I genuinely struggle with is comfort eating when I'm stressed. The 5 pizza sessions in 2 weeks is unfortunately true, because sometimes when you've worked non-stop since waking up and you're tired and a little bit frazzled, my mind just defaults to the easiest, tastiest option, even though it makes me feel like crap the next day, and is likely packing on loads of internal fat around my organs. This is where Noom comes in. It's unlike any healthy eating program you've tried before, because it doesn't focus on making you feel guilty for falling off track, shouting at you, well, just try harder. It teaches you to try smarter, building longer-lasting, sustainable, positive habits. Using AI, mobile tech and psychology with the empathy of actual personal coaches you can talk to, you get the perfect combination of cognitive behavior therapy with human support and accountability. Working through the program only takes 10 minutes a day, where it helps you uncover the deep-rooted reasons in your psychology for why you pick up that chocolate bar, or why you miss that gym trip, so you can effortlessly make better decisions in the future. In their lesson, Break the Behavior Chain, for example, I realized my pizza habit is because of mental and emotional triggers. Sounds obvious, but until I read that, I just thought, Ollie like pizza. Now I know it's actually, Ollie has a terrible coping mechanism. So I should make sure I've got healthy things in the house for days I know I'm going to be busy. In Noom's words, learning, not dieting, is what leads to real, lasting change. So take Noom's free 30-second quiz using our special links below to see how you could benefit from a truly custom weight loss program and to change your long-term habits for the better. Please give the link a click, as just doing that helps support us here at WrestleTalk too. But most importantly, support yourself and your health. Check out Noom today. Now it's time for my review of last night's AEW Fyter Fest Night 2 in about 5 minutes. Rocking like it's Sturgis 2020, AEW kicked off with the whole crowd singing Judas for the first Labor of Jericho match. Him versus Shawn Spears, where Spears can use a chair but Chris can't. MJF was excellent on commentary here, both for storytelling purposes and the lols, explaining this is the labors of Jericho, not Jericho being in labor, which you might think going by his physique. And Jericho and Spears put on a fun brawl helped by a raucous crowd, who popped huge for Jericho's camera spot, which looked like he was trying to take a selfie like a cat, and him hitting a top rope Hurricane Rana. Tully distracted the referee as Spears tapped out to the walls, so Sammy Guevara chased him off and Jericho won, throwing Shawn into a chair, then hitting the Judas effect. It's Judas effective. But the real excitement came in the post-match when MJF announced the next Labor. Not another member of the Pinnacle, but someone who is sadistic, twisted and criminal. He once stabbed his opponent in the jugular. He once robbed a bank. New Jack? Oh right, no, it's Nick Gage. Makes a lot more sense. Who came out with a pizza cutter. I'm 5,000 miles away from Texas, and just him being on my screen scared me. Jericho later revealed he'll have to plunge to his darkest depths too to take on a sicko like Gage, bringing his Painmaker gimmick back from New Japan, complete with goth makeup and tiny little hat, which isn't as scary. Perhaps we could be seeing a version of my Jericho retirement fantasy booking from a few years ago, where he comes out as a different version of his character for each labor. Doc Gallows beat the elite hunter Kaz thanks to some Carl Anderson interference, which was mostly a setup for Kenny Omega's goofy supervillain promo, which itself was a setup for Hangman Page and the Dark Order to brawl with the elite. They'll have that huge elimination match next week. Brian Cage teased ruining Ricky Starks' Team Taz celebration party next week, so that feud is continuing. Darby Allin beats Wheeler Yuta in a decent enhancement match, with Darby's coffin match injuries from last week letting Yuta get in some credible technical offense. But the standout was the super kick battle I did not know I needed. Sting and Orange Cassidy on the outside, which ended with Sting doing a low-effort version of his chest-beating taunt, making him look like he had little T-Rex arms. Ow. In her first women's title defense, babyface tweener Britt Baker then took on Nyla Rose in a fun bout, where she even busted out the old Eddie Guerrero spot of throwing the title to Rose and pretending to be knocked out by it. The timing didn't quite work though, as she just got right back up for Nyla to throw it back to her. Britt kicked out of Nyla's powerbomb finisher and then tapped out Rose in the lockjaw. Hopefully AEW can start building more women's stars in their division. FTR and Santana and Ortiz were shown in a press conference earlier that day, where Santana started putting out photos of his childhood, getting across what he's been through to get here. It was really powerful stuff. I just wish it went longer. They'll be wrestling next week too. Andrade then came out for an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone where he announced he's upgrading his Guerrero, swapping Vicky as his manager for his new executive consultant, Chavo Guerrero, who got a welcoming pop from the crowd. Death Triangle interrupted next as Andrade was looking for them last week, and El Idolo asked Penta and Phoenix, "Why do you work for PAC?" It's actually a good question. They do feel like they've rather been thrown together. Andrade and Chavo escaped a brawl which fizzled out with referees getting in the way. I really like all the components of this, but like everything else Andrade has done in AEW so far, feels a bit clunky. In a neat multi-segment story, Blade had knocked out Cassidy with the brass knucks after the Allen Utah match earlier on. This let them start right off with intensity, with Cassidy taking a heinous bump off a gut-wrench powerbomb on the top turnbuckle. Chris Statlander and Bunny brawled outside, letting Cassidy win with the Superman punch, and then a man of brass knucks punch in the post-match for poetic justice. And the main event was a chaotically brutal Texas death match for New Japan's US Championship between Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. I love AEW, but they really dropped the ball with Archer last September, awkwardly transitioning him into a babyface role and then getting sucked into the knock knock. Oh, who's there? Interrupting Sting Vortex. Interrupting Sting Vortex who?
Well, if I could steal a cliche, Sting, if I could just steal a cliche, what you're saying, I guess it would bring a tear to a glass eye.
Thankfully, this was the Archer of his debut, hilariously using a planted fan as a weapon, no selling loads, and treating Moxley's head with a fork like it was a big bowl of spaghetti. Fork him up, Archer, fork him up. The finish neatly mirrored how Mox beat Archer in New Japan, setting up a barbed wire table on the outside, but this time it was John who got put through it off the apron and wasn't able to beat the count. Someone going over in their hometown? It'll never work. Finally, Archer has won both a match and the title in AEW. Sure, it's a New Japan title, but it's better than nothing. He'll face Herculeo next week for it. What did you think of Fyter Fest Night 2? Let me know in the comments down below and vote in our poll on a poll match on the community tab, where 88% of you went for everyone to AEW confirmed. This was a typically excellent episode of Dynamite. Variety, fan service, angles, matches, characters, newsworthy moments that are good. This week's show is 4 out of 5. Now go make WrestleTalk.com your homepage for all the latest on Punk and Bryan and find out about the heat between WWE and NXT. In the logical conclusion of its extreme backstage politics, WWE now has heat with WWE. After a month of tryout matches for the main roster, a rather humiliating process itself given that's what NXT is supposed to be for, current NXT champion Karrion Kross made his Raw debut on Monday night.